Hi there, welcome to I Won't Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Capricorn energy. And this round we're using the Kipper style and a Lenormand style deck from Maruk X. Got it from their Etsy shop. And we're also going to shuffle the Intuit deck, and then we're going to, at the end, ask what a possible outcome could be that people don't see coming, depending on if they harness a more high vibrational Capricorn energy or a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy, because it's not a personal reading and everybody has free will, and some people do harness high vibe Capricorn. Shadowy Capricorns represented by the devil, which we all tap into Capricorn energy. Capricorn is earth sign energy about the world, and the devil can represent all these things that manipulate us. Our pride, our ego, our fear, our insecurity, our immature, lazy, jealous, petty, want reward without effort, The list goes on about our shadowy nature. And we've all got lessons to learn. And some people, I view high vibe Capricorn as the King of Pentacles. If we put in work and effort to free ourselves from the things that manipulate us, when we go present ourselves in the world, we kind of really are who we say we are. At whatever level of emotional maturity we are, and healing and stability, we are being a true reflection. But other people can try to present themselves as King of Pentacles energy, male or female, but they're not who they say they are. They are more manipulated by things that, they don't want people to know about. But they can present themselves as a more stable, grounded, balanced, loving, just, fair person to try to get people to hire them, go into business with them, be friends with them, date them, marry them. And we've all been there to some degree because we deal with all these people in the world. And it's to learn that not everybody is who they present themselves as being, and hopefully learn to listen to our intuition and not be manipulated. Okay, we had a clump come out of the Intuit deck, but we're just going to take these ones. Put your hand on your heart and ask, what do I know about this situation? You may be surprised. Take a moment to consider the things you don't like about yourself with love and compassion. It is okay to say no, and the reason those came out is because of inadequacy. High vibe energy is learning to love yourself, kind of like being a good mother, father, coach to yourself. I have my own fears and insecurities. I have my past pain and heartbreak. I don't like those things manipulating me. Whatever other shadowy traits and characteristics I might have. And I'm going to be like a good parent to myself. I'm going to offer myself love and compassion and forgiveness for the lessons I've had to learn. And then I'm going to offer that to other people in my life, because we're all like little children learning how to walk in this world. And some people have learned a lot of lessons in life, and they are very just and fair and loving and stable and emotionally mature people. And some people aren't. And if you harness high vibe Capricorn, you'd want to be in relationships with other people who do. And we just need to see the truth of it, because the truth sets us free. So let's go see what could be going on in Capricorn energy. We have courtship, crossroads, snowflake, and the dice in reverse. And the reason that came out is because of the death card. So initially in our life, we can kind of align, we just don't even realize, that, in our free will nature, there's probably going to come a time in our life where we've got to pick a path. The crossroads is kind of like the Two of Swords, Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. What do we think is just and fair? And again, we come in contact with all these different people, and it's to try to help us get clear about our truth. And if we're willing to stand up for our truth, and are we going to choose love? Are we going to choose to indulge ourselves in poor behavior? And we've all been in relationships with other people. Some of them are trying to find their way, but there are some people in the world who don't want to pick a path. If you're more motivated by love, or if you're more motivated by yourself or the world or ego or indulgence, be truthful about it. Quit trying to manipulate people and make them think you're something other than you are. But the Two of Swords, there are people who still haven't picked a path. And we need to be aware of that, They could want to go back and forth. Well, I like to hang out with the loving people, but then they kind of want me to grow up and mature myself and kind of self-discipline myself, be more just and fair. And then I kind of like to hang out with people where it's more about indulging myself or my ego or my image. And then I kind of like to be around the more loving people. So you might know some people who are like that, whether they're a Libra sun sign or not. Anybody can harness their Libra energy of self that way. And we've all been in relationships, some were high vibe, and we could look up and admire them regardless of how the relationship went. We've kind of learned lessons from people, and we've known people who align with their more worldly nature or self-nature or whatever shadowy ways of being they are. And we can feel stuck because it kind of challenges us to really think about what our truth is. So the snowflake is like the star card, with it being Aquarius energy. What drives and motivates me? What's my idea of the dream life, dream relationship? How do other people in my life, what's their idea of the dream life and dream relationship? And again, Libra and Aquarius energy are air sign energy of the mind. But some people are in denial and don't, we can all stay in denial of the truth. Some people are kind of more about the world, maybe more about themselves, but they don't want to see the truth of it. So the Two of Swords can be like, no, I don't want to see the truth. I want to just keep doing things the way I've been doing it. And if I am more about myself or ego or image, I don't want to see the truth of it. And then they can either try to get in relationships with people who harness high vibe Aquarius energy, because that makes them look victorious and successful. Look, I'm in a relationship with a loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person. That makes me look like I must be that type of person. But if that's not the truth of who they are, they're trying to confuse the people they're in a relationship about the truth of who they are. And if some people are more about the world, they might get in relationships with other people who shine bright in the world, seem victorious and successful, that they could think are more about those things also. And it works for them again. It makes them look victorious and successful in the world. But, it's just not love. And other people have went out and known different types of people in their world. And the high vibe people have learned to listen to their intuition, because we can meet all these people who is like, wow, they seem stable, they seem grounded, they seem loving, they seem balanced. And then we found out, kind of our judgment was clouded, because in our more worldly nature, we can want to ignore listening to our intuition and kind of learning the lesson to listen to our intuition, because we want those things that we want. And so sometimes we stay in denial of the truth. But people who've done that enough times could be like, that's it, I'm done. I am, from now on, I'm listening to my intuition. And I don't care how good the opportunity looks or how attracted I might be. If my intuition is like, you shouldn't do this, you should go home, I don't think this is a good idea. High vibe people have learned to listen to their intuition, but we're all somewhere on the spectrum of learning those lessons, right? Yeah, high vibe people they're not going to take foolish risks. This is fire sign energy. High vibe people aren't as motivated and inspired to be manipulated by those things of the world. Either that's just their character and integrity, but a lot of other people have learned those lessons the hard way. And they've realized in the death card, that doesn't work out the way that I want. And if I stay in denial and I get in a mismatched relationship where my gut and my intuition is telling me that person, if I'm driven and motivated by truth and love and justice and wanting to be in deep, meaningful relationships, and I'm in a relationship with someone who I know isn't like that, I can stay in denial in it for as long as I want, but my dream probably isn't going to come into reality, because we have to accept the truth that everybody is where they're at. If somebody in all their 30, 40 years of decision making, debating within themselves about what kind of person to be and what kind of attitudes to have in life, what kind of traits, characteristics to have, and they popped out over here in a more, I'm kind of defensive, I'm kind of more about myself, I like to make my life about me or these things of the world that I think will make me happy. And other people who went through the debate process popped out over here. I have hope and faith and belief and love. We're operating from a different foundation. The Sith card is like the death card in tarot. Are we willing to learn lessons in life where we shed like old layers of ourselves? We go through a phase of life, we learn lessons, and then we kind of see what needs to go, what needs to stay. We're no longer stuck about the truth. We live that life, we learn the lessons we were meant to learn, and then we're ready to shed some of those old ways of viewing life, to face our fears, to keep like growing to our full potential. And I'm willing to emotionally detach from layers of my more worldly nature, some of my fears, some of my insecurities, some of my immaturity, my past pain and heartbreak, because I have a dream. And my dream isn't to act like an immature, prideful, self-indulgent, addicted, materialistic, superficial, shallow person. Some people have been learning these lessons since they were age 5. Some people since age 5 and on didn't quite learn all the lessons that some other people have learned. And their idea, this card says Libra also, what people think is just and fair of how to live life, how to treat others, how to view life, how to view themselves, how to view their opinion of other people. Everybody can decide what they think is just and fair. And some people think it's just and fair to want to stay in denial. They might have some issues that other people see. You got some issues you need to deal with. And those people end up not willing to keep taking a chance on them because they already did. I was loving, I was encouraging, I was supportive, and nothing ever changed. If you were immature, you're still immature. If you're fearful, bossy, controlling, emotionally shallow, superficial, I see the truth of it, and some high vibe people have already moved on from some of those people. They might have known some people who can't make a decision. I don't know what my dream is. I can't decide. It's like, okay, well, if you can't decide, I know what my truth is, and my truth is, I believe in love. High vibe 2 of swords is I'm listening to my intuition and having hope and faith and belief in my dreams. See ya. I'm moving on. I am transforming my life. I've learned the lessons. Who is working with me? Looking at life from a higher perspective, having hope and faith and belief in love, treating people in a just and fair manner. And I've seen who doesn't. So I wish you peace, and I'm moving on. And just like some of you have done that, other people are doing that, and other people have done that. And some people are like, I'm not willing to see the truth either, and I'm going to hang out with these people. We just, you could look at this. We were 18. We were hanging out. We were 18. We viewed life like an 18-year-old. Are some 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds probably going to want to hang out with us that are more emotionally mature, stable, and grounded? No, they're going to move on. It's kind of the same thing. Whatever age we are, based on whatever lessons we've learned in life, we kind of want to hang out with people who are on the same page as us. And it can be really hard. And if it's more of a family member, a good friend, a romantic relationship, it's really hard. We can stay stuck in the 2 of swords, kind of in denial at that crossroads for a long time, because we really we want those people to move forward with us, and we want them in our life, but we also want it to be, where people are acting in a stable, grounded, emotionally mature, loving way. And eventually it's like we can't stay in denial of the truth anymore. You know, I can love people and wish them peace, and, we're really not on the same page. And, you might like to go do this, I like to go do that. I could find you kind of have some shadowy traits and characteristics, and I can't make other people change and transform their life. And Scorpio, well, the Sith card reminds me of the Death card in tarot, which is Scorpio energy. And the thing is, we have these deep emotional connections with people, and that's what makes it so difficult. And, we did have a dream. We were trying to bring something into reality. But we do have to see the truth that some people want more deep, meaningful relationships. Some people don't. They'd rather have more superficial and shallow relationships. And they might be just a more superficial, shallow person who's maybe just more about themselves, or making their life more about, don't even want to do love. If you do love, you take a risk of being hurt. And so some people could be like, I'm not doing that. That's just too big of a risk to take. And everybody does what makes them feel comfortable and feeling like they can maintain stability in their life. And if some people would feel like, if I did love and it didn't work out, I don't know if I could pick myself back up again, because maybe they really haven't learned to be a loving, nurturing person to themselves, to kind of love and encourage themselves, to pick themselves back up. And those are lessons we got to learn in life. We all know how hard it has been throughout our life, dating people and friendships, and people moved away. If we had friends in high school or whatever, and then they moved away, it's like, oh my gosh, that is like, it can feel like my life has no life to it, and I still have to have hope and faith and belief that I will find a new best friend, and when relationships break up, we go through this period of kind of, I guess, feeling a little bit in darkness and unloved. And, so some people did learn how to do that within themselves, to soothe themselves, love themselves, maintain balance within themselves. But other people haven't learned that. And some people right now could be very tipped out of balance in like shadowy Capricorn energy, where instead of kind of doing the work that we need to do to be nurturing and loving and supportive to ourselves, and we have to be willing, say something we were moving forward with that we thought was going to be like a dream come true ended, we also have to deal with the truth of it. This card's a little different, but in a regular tarot deck, at least maybe the Rider-Waite ones, the person is holding the one sword. We have to see the truth. How did we contribute to that relationship not working out? Where do we need to heal and grow and mature and expand our perception of how we view ourselves and the world and how we view people that we're in relationships with? Do we kind of have some shadowy ways of being or viewing others, or thinking we're better than others, or it should be more about us, or, that people should indulge us for some reason? And some people don't want to deal with those things either, because they don't want to see the truth of how they could have contributed to relationships not working out. But then we also got to look at the people we got in a relationship with. Say we like people who are spontaneous and kind of wild and crazy, and maybe because we're not really that type of person so much, so it kind of brings a spark of life in a way to our life. Kind of offsetting each other a little bit, but they are kind of immature and crazy, and then, they're just not as mature as we'd like them to be. But if we're not willing to see the truth of it, that doesn't work out. I kind of might like being around people like that, and I could look for somebody who's kind of has that spark of spontaneity or whatever, but just a little more mature. But if we don't see the truth, we'll keep being drawn and attracted to people that have traits and characteristics that it doesn't work out well. We got to be willing to deal with the truth of that too. And some people don't want to see the truth. And again, we can all be sad. So the death card can be where it kind of puts us in our shadow nature in our ego. But the truth sets us free. So if we're willing to offer love to the situation in the courtship card, because love is the answer. And over here, it's kind of the ending, kind of like the death card again, to something moving forward that we could have been motivated and inspired about. But then we have the success and love card. Love, when you learn to offer love to the situation, that's what helps you heal, and that's what helps you free yourself. So we can all go through a period of going into sadness and pain and heartbreak, but high vibe people offer love to it so they don't keep staying stuck. And they do this work and they look at life from a bigger perspective. And, what truth wasn't I seeing? What lesson did I need to learn here? Where do I need to grow and heal and mature? Where do they maybe need to heal and grow and mature? How are we just on different pages? And I can offer love to the fact that, we're kind of on different pages, kind of maybe what drives and motivates us. You want to live in a big town, I want to live in a small town. Maybe religious differences, whatever it is. Just to offering love and compassion to it, I think, is the best answer. And you could look at the dice card is if you offer love to the situation, it stops you from being, with that being fire sign energy, being more motivated and inspired to take action in your life because of your pain and your heartbreak and things that didn't work out the way you wanted. Like, I'm going to align with my more loving, intuitive, hopeful, believing nature. I'm going to keep things in perspective. I'm probably going to live 80 years. Will I find a new job, a new friend, a new romantic relationship? Probably. Do I need it today, this month, this year? No. I have time to work through this process, like a grieving process. And I can only take responsibility for my own actions. And if I am willing to take responsibility for my actions and learn the lesson I was meant to learn of where I need to heal and grow and mature, other people also have to take responsibility for their actions. And some of those people could feel inadequate and don't have hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams and haven't learned to love themselves. So they might just decide, I'm just not going to do that again. I may be going to get in relationships, but it is more operating from my ego and a hurt place where I'm just going to indulge myself in the relationship. I might present myself as a stable, grounded, loving person. I'm going to keep all these things that I don't deal with buried beneath the surface so people don't know about it, but it still affects how they interact in a relationship. Because they get triggered by those things that they haven't dealt with yet. And sometimes other people realize that they are more defensive. I'm not going to open up and be more loving and just and fair with you in a relationship. Or they can be intimidating and controlling. I want you to stop loving and believing in yourself because I don't. If the truth sets us free to move forward in life differently and kind of step out of our comfort zone and face our fears, they've already got things that they're not dealing with. So it's like, I want to move forward where kind of in the death card, we don't give birth to anything new. Let's get in the relationship. Let's not be inspired to change. Let's not work through any of our issues. Let's keep moving forward just like this. Well, that's because they choose not to continue to grow and heal and mature themselves. But that's not how a lot of people live their life. Periodically, people look at some of their baggage. Dang, I've had this kind of issue I've been dragging around for the last 5 years, and I'm tired of it. It keeps me stuck. And other people do get motivated to look through those things that they carry around with them and work through their own inadequacies and offer themselves love and put things in perspective so they can let some of those things go. Well, then that person isn't the same person they were when they could have gotten into that job, friendship, or relationship. And that's when some people don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore, because you are not the same person you were before. And they like that type of maturity level or way of viewing life, but you're just not the same person you are anymore. But they might not ever plan to view life any differently or work through some of their issues. And then you've kind of moved forward. And then we have the wealthy woman, which the feminine figures can just represent how we think and feel. You're more abundant than you were before. If you've learned to love yourself and get more balance within yourself and work through some of your baggage, yeah. High vibe energy is about being more independent of those things that manipulated you. So it is kind of like you've learned lessons that some other people haven't maybe learned. Just like somebody who's 25 compared to an 18-year-old, you know? You view life differently, and you're not as immature or riddled with things that used to riddle you when you were younger. You know, you're just more abundant within yourself. And then we have bouquet, which is Virgo energy. A gift, joy, beauty, happiness, blossoming, appreciation, invitation, attention. Virgo energy is about seeing the truth, high vibe, seeing the truth and taking those lessons that you've learned from that life experience to keep moving forward, emotionally believing in yourself. I can move forward and take the lessons I've learned with me as I move forward in life. And some of the other people, though, haven't done that. So it's hard for them to move forward with other people who are moving forward in a more self-aware, independent, loving, balanced way, because they still haven't detached and worked through those things. So then we have sweetheart, main female, and the book, which is Pisces energy, which is connecting with your emotions and your intuition and having hope and faith and belief in your dreams and offering yourself a cup of love so you get out of the things that emotionally confused you and things you were caught up in illusion about. You've just learned these lessons in life. So that one says learning, information, knowledge, discovery, secrets, revealing facts. You know, when we always relate things to when we were younger, because we really felt those things a lot when we were younger. You know, when we went and got our first job, that was really scary. When we went to go get a second job, that was really scary. And, you know, you can have to go, have lived quite a long life and applied for different jobs to kind of be able to self-soothe yourself where, you know, it doesn't rattle you as much, if at all, anymore. But we can all remember when we were younger. Well, those are all like lessons you have in your book of life. And the reason this came out is because of the death card and the birds is Sagittarius energy, which in shadowy energy can just mean our more immature nature. You know, the more life experience and the more, you know, you kind of don't indulge yourself, the death card, like stop yourself from having hope and faith and belief in your dreams. You know, being brave isn't meaning that you're not scared. It means that you face your fear and you move forward anyway. You go apply for that job. You go get your license. You go on your first date. You know, you move out of home. All those things that we did when we were younger. And the more you do that in your life, the more, you know, you're not as afraid, because as time has went by and the more you challenge yourself, the more enlightened to the truth that you are, that I already know if I don't listen to my intuition, because we've all been at phases of life too, where it was really hard to detach from some things. our fear, our insecurity, our harsh critical inner voice, people who are maybe being manipulative or unkind, getting new friends, getting a new job. We've all been there. But the more we have more practice doing this within ourselves, the more enlightened we are to the truth that if I indulge my more immature nature, it keeps me kind of operating more from my fear, and that these energies in a shadowy would be I'm aligning with staying in denial of the truth, and then in shadowy energy of the Aquarius, I can just operate from my ego. And I'll keep moving forward or plowing forward without dealing with the truth of it. I can just create this illusion that I'm more stable and abundant and self-aware than I am. Maybe go find someone else who's something they were working on didn't work out. And then I'll try to present myself as being a more emotionally mature person with them. And because they could be sad that something they were trying to move forward with, because Sagittarius energy is about moving forward in life, something happened that things didn't work out for them, I'll just go try to get in a relationship with them. But it's kind of like somebody who didn't do well at a job, so then that job didn't work out, but they don't want to see the truth, so they go get another job, and eventually the people who they might go get another job with the ending in the coffin card, they don't want to move forward with them anymore either. If you just think, I have an idea, instead of me dealing with the truth, I'll just go get a new job. I'll go get a new friend. I'll go get a new romantic interest. Well, that's staying in denial of some things that a person might benefit from changing. And what some people might benefit from changing is kind of indulging their more immature nature. And instead, to be inspired to heal and grow and mature themselves emotionally and be enlightened by the truth. But some people don't want to do that because they don't want to see the truth. I'll just maybe go find someone who's loving and nurturing and supportive, and maybe I can move forward with them, and they can get people to move forward with them in a relationship because they might wear a good false mask. But eventually, the people that they're in relationships with feel kind of stuck. By worldly standards, it could look really good. By worldly standards, it could have, Libra represented by the scales of justice. It looks like I have what most people would think I have justice in the world. The star card, it kind of looks like I have what other people have. But if you're in a job or a friendship or a relationship where people aren't who they say they are, they're not just and fair. They could be more emotionally shallow. They could be intimidating or controlling. They could be narcissistic and self-centered and egotistical. People could think you should not kind of keep loving and believing in yourself, and you should stay in the job, the friendship, or relationship, even with them acting in those shadowy ways when you can see there's some lessons in life about working together with people in a more authentic, just and fair and loving way that they have not learned those skills. But they kind of hope that if I get you in it, you take the job, you get in the friendship group, you get in the romantic relationship, well, we're hoping you then won't keep loving and believing in yourself. And then someone, the shadowy, wealthy woman, can be someone who's like, I'll go get in a relationship with someone who's in this high vibe energy. And then I kind of get to indulge. I get the perks of them being that type of person. And it maybe helps them look like they're that type of person. Makes it look like they're a more enlightened person, that they healed, grew, or matured themselves. But they didn't. But then they're hoping the people they get in a relationship with, maybe because of fear of leaving that job to go find another job, to go find a new friend, to go get a new romantic relationship, that those people, or ego, that status image, don't want to be judged, that other people will quit like singing their song and their authentic life and kind of put an end to the spark of life within them. And they kind of let these things of the world manipulate them. And then we have more people who aren't living their authentic life. And high vibe Sagittarius is, being inspired that life's an adventure to be lived. I do have all these lessons to learn. If you were to look at life as a video game, you live your life at a certain phase of life. You have to master these challenges and obstacles of learning life at that phase of life. And then when you face your fears, you emotionally detach from those old ways of living, and you go to the next level of life, and it's scary because there's going to be new fears and insecurities and obstacles you have to overcome on that level. But high vibe people want to do that. I want to peel back all these layers of myself. I want to not let my fear and my codependency and my past pain and heartbreak and my self-limiting beliefs keep me living a life where I've kind of given up my dreams. And other people, though, if they have, say, a certain status or image in the world, then they could think, I'm good. Nope. I might be more about ego and image and status. So then I don't really live my more authentic life. And then my life could be more about conforming to the world. And I want people to view me a certain way. And so I have to act like this and dress like this and talk to those people, not talk to those people. Go here, don't go there. And, it's all these things that kind of dictate their life and manipulate them. And they can't just really live their more authentic life. If you're living your authentic life from love, yeah, I'm my own individual. And I go out in the world and I don't get hung up on all this stuff. I treat other people the way I like to be treated. Oh yeah, that's my neighbor. Yeah, he might look like that, dress like that, live his life like that. He's an okay person, Am I going to date him or marry him? No. Can I not be social with all sorts of different people? But there's some people that would just be like, oh, who are you talking to? And why were you talking to someone who looks like that? And oh my God, I was like, I'm just living my life and being loving and encouraging and supportive, treating other people the way I like to be treated. And I'm not as manipulated by all this bullshit that some other people might be manipulated by. And some people got out of those types of relationships because they weren't willing to put an end to living their more authentic life. And they could have, again, found some of the people in their life were trying to intimidate them, control them, not love and believe in themselves, not heal, grow, and mature yourself. Well, people who really love you should want you to love and believe in yourself. But some people are like, well, no, I don't want you to shine your authentic light in the world. You're kind of doing something outside the box, and I don't ever step outside the box. Or I have fears and insecurities, and if you were to shine your authentic light in the world, then I'm afraid other people, I could be afraid you would quit moving forward with me. And that's when, they can get more caught up in their head instead of listening to their intuition and love. If someone's in a relationship with them, they would probably like that. High vibe people would like the relationship to move forward. But other people then, because of their inadequacy, they kind of self-sabotage the relationship because of their fear and their insecurity. And, they've got these lessons to learn about offering love to the situation and speaking their truth. But some people, that isn't their default. The default is to put an end to aligning with their loving nature, listening to their intuition, and keeping things in perspective, and they're not willing to take that risk. So instead, they could just decide, I'm going to try to control you, manipulate you, intimidate you, or I'm just going to leave. And we don't understand why, and it's confusing. So, we don't have to understand why everyone does. We're incredibly emotionally complex human beings. And we just see the truth. If they were free and able and they felt just it helped them stay in a sense of feeling stable and grounded within themselves, they'd probably move forward in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way. But that's not where they're at. So we accept the truth. The flowers card here, Virgo energy, accepting the truth. And we can't change other people. We can't make people quit being defensive, egotistical, bossy, controlling, immature, love and believe in themselves. They have to do that work within themselves. They hold the key to free themselves from what imprisons them. We can only offer people love and encouragement, treat people with the way we like to be treated, and then they have to make that free will decision within themselves to free themselves. And as some of you are moving forward, maybe moving forward, you know, and it takes time because we are these emotionally complex human beings. It takes time, and that's what some people did. Things didn't work out the way they wanted. They didn't take action out of shadow. Some other people did. I'm hurt. I'm mad. I feel rejected. I'm in my ego. And they could have went thinking, I know the way to go feel better. And it's kind of how they, you know, still have some lessons to learn. And they weren't willing to wrap their brain around this game of life. High Vibe Sagittarius is about also higher learning and education. And some people are like, no, not going to do that. I know a way to feel better. I'm going to go emotionally indulge myself. And Virgo energy is earth sign energy also, where we invest our time, energy, and effort into certain things. And some people are like, I know, I'm going to go invest myself in the sweetheart or the main, what's that say, main female? Yeah. You know, we can indulge ourselves emotionally and put an end to higher learning and education. And then shadowy Pisces, I'm going to go indulge myself in the world to feel better. Some other people have already lived enough life and have done things like that before, and it didn't work out the way they wanted. And they realize, if I want to be in a stable, abundant, loving relationship, I need to do this work within myself to heal from that past pain and heartbreak, do all this emotional work within myself to love and believe in myself. I don't want to repeat that past pattern, so I need to see where I need to grow up and mature myself and see the truth of some people I was in a relationship with. Because that didn't work out the way I wanted, so I need to deal with the truth of it. I don't want to repeat that past pattern. I want to transform my life. I'm not going to give up hope in my dreams, just seeing what things I need to detach from within myself and what people. We're not on the same page on this book of life. What we find emotionally fulfilling, what we like to indulge in, what our dreams are, because Pisces is about your dreams also, just like Aquarius energy. And I just maybe realize I'm not going to take action towards that person anymore, or other people I might meet who kind of have those ways about them also, because I've already found out it doesn't work for me. And then, once I've emotionally detached from all that, I am going to listen to my intuition. And when my intuition tells me it's time to move forward and I'm ready to move forward in new relationships that I align with. And again, the success and love, we kind of look at like a Two of Cups. I'm going to go find the people in the world who are more aligned on the same page as me. That job didn't work out because of these reasons. I'm going to go find people that I think are more on the same page that I can go work with or for. And the friendships and relationships. And then you're going to move forward still in the energy of love. And we got to realize some people, I kind of started to say quite a while back, shadowy energy, again, us kind of being more in our ego. can be our more competitive nature, prideful nature, petty, envious, jealous nature. Sometimes there's people in our life that don't like that people love and believe in themselves, that you're not acting and taking immature action more out of your fear, your insecurity, your defensiveness, your codependency, your lust, your greed. And, you can seem like a very stable, abundant person who's not immature. And sometimes other people don't like having you around because they like to think of themselves as that type of person. And then when they're around people who really are like the real deal, well, yeah, then they don't like you being around because it kind of illuminates that they're kind of not who they like to think of themselves as being, that they could benefit from some detaching from some immature ways of viewing life. But instead of dealing with that truth, they decide kind of in their ego, they're either going to try to tear you down, reject you, do hurtful, unkind things to try to stop you from loving and believing in yourself so that you're in shadowy energy just like them. Like, ha! Or if they were able to do something hurtful or unkind to try to not being like just and fair with you, those kind of things, then hoping if you kind of drive your life off into the ditch because you're not able to keep things in perspective and it was hurtful and unkind, like people trying to throw you under the bus and kick you to the curb, then some of those people think if I can hurt them and I can get them to kind of drive their life off into the ditch, then by default, them not doing that because they weren't the one who was hurt, then they can look like they're the more stable, grounded person and you're the more immature person. So that's where it's like trying to steal from somebody. I don't like that you're more emotionally mature or stable or grounded or loving. I'm going to do something hurtful and unkind, again, to make you drive your life off into the ditch. And then I can proclaim that I was always the more emotionally stable, grounded, loving person, without them having done this work. It's trying to, by someone else's downfall, to then claim that elevated them to the next level. And some people were social climbers. Some people could have been in friendships and relationships, and they were in relationships with people motivated and inspired by love that could have transformed their life. But then they could have seen someone who they could go get in a relationship who they could have thought was more on the same page as them, that wouldn't require them to grow and heal and mature themselves. But of course, people would wonder, well, why did you leave these loving, supportive people? It looked like you had a dream come into reality. It's like, that's when they could try to make people not view you as the person that you really are, so that they, not being just and fair, not being truthful and honest, to try to justify why they did what they did. And, if this relationship made me look more mature, more stable, more grounded, more loving, whatever, I'll go take my show on the road and try to get in a relationship with someone else who either has money or more status, image, or money, or I think isn't maybe as mature as this person, and I could be in that relationship for a long time before this person would maybe want me to start putting in some work and effort to grow and heal and mature myself. But the other person, they were ready to transform and move this relationship to the next level. And I was like, sorry, I'm leaving. I'm going to go start over with someone new. And if they go get in a relationship with another loving person, well, that, again, those people are eventually see these people aren't who they say they are. They have some of these shadowy traits and characteristics, or more emotionally shallow or egotistical or bossy or whatever. And then those people end a relationship with them also. If they go get in a relationship with someone who's kind of on the same page as them, who might be kind of immature. You know, the whole thing is we get in relationships and hopefully we're all willing to do some work to work cooperatively together. Well, people who can be more shadowy, it can be a more transactional relationship. Well, whoever has more should be the person who's indulged in the relationship. And they could have went to go get in a relationship with someone who's kind of shadowy, who kind of thinks they should be the more indulged person. And some of these other shadowy people, they're used to being the more indulged person. And they kind of didn't want to indulge someone. But yet when they're in a relationship, they could think they should be the indulged person. And they could have thought, either this person, the new person, will indulge me, even if they are kind of more worldly focused or ego focused or self-indulgent focused. They could have just thought that person was willing to indulge them and that person wasn't, because they were more high vibrational than they realized. Or that person wasn't because, like, no, I'm the one who gets indulged and you'd have to indulge me. And they weren't willing to play the opposite side of the coin, which when they're in relationships, they think people should be willing to do that. Or if you go get in a relationship with someone who's not motivated and inspired by truth and love, why are they in it? Money, status, ego, image? Well, if someone else comes along that has more money, more status, more image, oh, see ya. Sorry. I found someone else that has more status and image or things that I love, or they're willing to indulge me more than I think you would, so I'm going to leave you. You know, so I think it is not a beneficial way to live your life, being in a more immature, shadowy way of being, because you either know you're manipulating people, and I think that wears on your conscience unless people never had a conscience because they're narcissistic anyway. But otherwise, I do think it works on your conscience if you have one. They know they're letting themselves be manipulated by their fear and their insecurities. Eventually, other people kind of see the truth. They can try to stop other people from seeing the truth of what drives them, motivates them. But you can only fool some of the people some of the time. And if they keep trying to get in relationships with more emotionally balanced, emotionally mature, loving, stable, grounded people, and those people keep leaving a relationship with them, other people who don't know them as well might start to wonder why. You know, and if those people keep moving forward in kind of what's viewed as a high vibrational way, and they're not taking more immature action out of pride and ego and lust and greed, well, it kind of shows who's more high vibrational and who's not. And it might be forcing some people, as some high vibe people in their life keep moving forward. Seeing sometimes people are hurtful and unkind because they just want you to stop doing what you're doing and come back and do the relationship the way they want. And for some people, they're seeing that's not working. And the high vibe people in their life are moving forward regardless. Well, then, when they also can't stay in denial of the truth that their manipulation tactics didn't work, well then, because they're kind of, again, in their ego, and very much maybe driven by ego and image, they will maybe make an offer to someone to try to have a new beginning, and they'll redo this process all over with someone else. Look how wonderful our life is, and they view me this certain way, and they aren't listening to their intuition because they're kind of caught up in all this stuff that, you know, eventually we'll probably all see how it all plays out again. But they could get in a relationship with someone who's kind of more on the same page as them, and that's a just and fair relationship. High vibe people want to be in relationships with other people, and the people in their life that are more connected in with their emotionally loving nature and have learned some of these same lessons as they have, and in Pisces energy and Sagittarius energy and Capricorn energy, they're motivated to be in friendships and relationships inspired by truth and love. You could find those new people too, and new jobs, new friendships, and things like that with other people who aren't indulging their more immature nature. And it's just and fair relationships that the high vibe people are getting into also. So what is coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy that they might not see coming up? The King of Swords. Why? Because of the Ace of Pentacles. So these two cards here I mentioned, reference to Libra energy. Some of you could have been dealing with a Libra and you found out you're the one who actually harnesses high vibe Libra, and they might harness a shadowy Libra energy. Why? Because you did this inner work to deal with the truth. And you are balanced within yourself, and you are presenting yourself as being this more just, fair, stable, grounded person who's not manipulated by your more shadow nature than you used to be. And people see the truth of it. And there's people who want to invest in you, and you're looking to invest in people who harness a more high vibrational Libra Capricorn energy than a more shadowy Libra Capricorn energy. The truth, the Ace of Pentacles is Virgo energy, going within to deal with these issues, to not be caught up in illusion, letting those things manipulate you. And you saw the truth, and the truth set you free to get the justice you deserve. Success in love. Love is what frees you. Loving yourself, to see the truth. Love is to be just and fair. People are supposed to treat you the way they like to be treated. And some people don't want to do that because they think they should kind of be the shadowy, emotionally privileged person in the relationship. Maybe because of their status or their image or their looks or their social clout or their finances. High vibe people have all those traits and characteristics and can have them, but they don't think because of those traits or qualities or characteristics that they should be the privileged, pampered person in a relationship. But shadowy people think they should. So I think the high vibe people are standing in their truth. People see you as a just and fair and stable, grounded person who isn't acting in more immature energy, and that you're investing in people who are on the same page as you and detach from people who weren't in that energy. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy, Capricorn energy? And, you know, just your idea of what you think is just and fair is different, and the lessons you've learned and freed yourself from some poor past habits or immature ways of living life or viewing life versus some other people. Okay, we had a card flip in the middle. We have the Two of Cups. Why? Because of the Six of Cups and the Two of Cups. Some people that act kind of shadowy in a relationship or a workplace or whatever, you know, there's always going to be some high vibe people in their life that are being loving and encouraging to them. But eventually those people are going to emotionally detach from them because they love and believe in themselves. So they had love for them in the Two of Cups as Cancer energy, about love and home and family. But eventually the Six of Cups is going to talk about people keep repeating this old pattern. I've already been there and done that. I feel like I'm back in a relationship with someone like back when I was 21. I'm not 21 anymore. Grow up. If that's the case, you know. And the Six of Cups is also Scorpio energy, which this Death card and the Ending Coffin card remind me of. High vibe people offered love to the situation. It helps them maintain, the sixes can talk about maintaining balance within yourself. And because they offer love to the situation and because they love themselves, they're able to reconcile themselves to the fact that I see some people, they're just kind of at a different stage of life than I am. And I've probably been there and done that myself. So, you know, I wish you peace, but I don't want to repeat that past pattern. And so they reconcile themselves with the fact that I can love people and emotionally distance myself from people and physically distance myself from people. And the wands can be about communication. I'm not going or taking action towards someone. I'm not going to pursue them anymore. And maybe if I have to see them at work or out in the world, I can treat everybody in a way that makes me feel proud of myself, where I treat people maybe in a cordial manner, because I just don't like ugliness in the world. But it doesn't mean I'm going to pursue any more of a relationship with them. And eventually it kind of gets to where you're not even maybe communicating with that person at all. If there's someone that you kind of could have to communicate with here and there. So eventually they have people in their life who reconcile themselves with this, come to a place of peace about it, and they move on. And they're going to have other people who want to get in a relationship with them. God uses shadowy people for God's good purposes. Oh, we got some people who didn't want to see the truth, that when people are acting in these ways, they could get in their God Savior complex thinking they can change people. And they get in relationships or marriages with them knowing they're not really operating from the same foundation. And they got some lessons to learn, and they'll get tangled up in it, and they'll have to decide if this is how they want to live their life, or if they're going to love and believe in themselves and listen to their intuition, a higher truth and justice to aspire to, and kind of detach from, because the loving people would communicate and offer love and encouragement. I'm moving forward in this way. There is no more negotiation. Negotiation is over. Judgment and justice is here. If this isn't moving forward, and it keeps moving forward in this more just and fair, self-aware, loving way, then I'm done writing a story with you. This has come to an end. And some of those people just will not. You have to get out of your ego to learn lessons. And some people just aren't willing to do love. And those relationships end. There'll be other people that have lessons to learn from someone like this. And for some of them, the same thing will happen again. History will repeat itself. People who love themselves will distance themselves from these people eventually. But if they find someone who is kind of on the same page as them, isn't kind of more inspired to live a more emotionally independent life, is happy making their life more about the world or codependency, or could be someone who likes to keep their emotions buried beneath the surface, shadowy Scorpio. I kind of like more emotionally shallow, superficial relationships. If this would make me look like a shining star, if this would look like I've moved on, gives the impression I'm not the same person I used to be, but really I probably am, well, then they're on the same page. And that would be a just and fair relationship. Now they might find out more what it's like to be in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. They might not like being in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. Well, they can either end that relationship and go try to manipulate another high vibe loving person, or some people don't want to put an end to being a more immature player. I just want to create the illusion I'm willing to bring the dream into reality. And for people who don't know the truth of me, I'll create that illusion until they want me to stop being an immature player and really invest in love. And then I'll leave the relationship and I'll try to confuse people about the truth why I didn't move forward in that relationship. I just want to go indulge myself in the world. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.